for our practice test so that you guys can make sure you have the right answers when you get home in case you did not get it done. You will need a separate piece of paper. We did spread out the test into 4 pages, so you should have enough room on the test, but it's going to look exactly like this, guys. So follow along. If you're not getting it now, please watch the video later, but I have to move fast because I've got 18 minutes to do what you guys just had an hour to do. Okay? So we're doing LCM for each pair. I have 8 and 12. Go through your 4 key numbers, 2, 3, 5, and 7. I can do those by 2, gives me 4 and 6. 2 gives me 2 and 3. LCM is all of them. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. 9 and 15. I can divide both those by 3. Gives me a 3 and a 5. 3 times 3 is 9, times 5 gives me 45. Okay, area of a triangle, height 4 feet, base 6.5 feet. Start with your base formula, 1/2 the base times the height. Putting in the actual numbers, 1/2 times 4 feet times 6.5 feet. Excuse me, half of 4 gives me 2. 6.5, I'm going to have to change into a improper fraction. So a slam dunk gives me 13 halves times 2 over 1. 2's are going to cross out, gives me 13, and my unit is feet, so the area is 13 square feet. Please do not forget the units on your answers. Write a fact family relating each set. So fact family just means I'm using addition or multiplication and division. We should have added that. Hopefully we did on the test. I'll have to check that. What? That we said write a fact family, multiplication and division. So we need 3/4 times 1/2 equals 3/8. Once I have my first fact in the family, the rest of them should be easy. 1/2 times 3/4 equals 3/8. 3/8 divided by 1/2 equals 3/4. 3/8 divided by 3/4 equals 1/2. Our other set of facts, 1/3, 6, and 2. So 1/3 times 6 equals 2. 6 times 1/3 equals 2. Then we go the other way. 2 divided by 6 equals 1/3. 2 divided by 1/3 equals 6. There's our fact families. Calculate surface area of a cube that has a width of 25 centimeters. We know from a cube that I'm looking at surface area, so I'm looking at the area for one side of it. So that's going to be length times width, which is 25 times 25. So I'm going to need to multiply that out. 25 times 25 gives me 25, 12, 0, 10, 50. Gives me 625 for one side. But because it's a cube, I have 6 of those sides. So I need to now multiply that one by 6. 0, 12, 15, 36, 37. So my surface area equals 3,750 square centimeters because it's area. Make sure you have the correct units. It's going to stink to do that much work and get it wrong or half wrong because you have the wrong units. Calculate the area of each shape. This is a triangle, so it's 1/2 the base times the height. I have a base of 36, a height of 20. So I'm going to say 1/2 of 36 times 20. For ease of operations, I'm going to take half of the 20, make that a 10, to make it 360 square inches. There's a trapezoid, so its area equals 1/2 of my 2 bases added together times the height. So I have my base 1, my base 2, and my height. So now putting the numbers in, 1/2 of 8 feet plus 14 feet times 5 feet. So 1/2, I have to do my addition first. So I'm going to add those, gives me 22 feet times 5 feet. Half of 22 is 11, so that gives me 55 square feet. 7, consider the triangular prism. Draw a net of the solid and label its dimensions, and then calculate the surface area of the solid. So there's 2 parts to this. If you go back in the notes, I said if it's a prism, I'm going to draw the rectangles and then do the bases off of it. If it's a pyramid, I'm going to do the base and then do triangles off of it. Because they told me it's a prism, I'm going to start with my rectangles. I've got 3 rectangles because it is a triangular prism. So I do my triangles on the side. I need to do the dimensions. So if I look at my dimensions, we know that the sides are 15, so this is 15. I know that the part under the triangle is 30. And I know that the other 2 sides are 17. And then I also know that the height of my triangle was 12. Once I have those, I really only have 3 shapes because these are the same. That means that those 2 have the same dimensions. My bases have the same dimensions. And then I have this rectangle in the middle. So I've got 3 shapes that I need to find the area of to put them all together. So I'm going to start with number 1, which is the rectangles on the sides. So that's going to be length times width, which gives me a length of 17 and a width of 15. So that's going to be 17 centimeters times 15 centimeters. So I can do that math. 17 times 15. 35, 85, 17 gives me 255. But I know that I have 2 of those that are the same. So I'm going to multiply that by 2. Gives me 10, 11, 510 square centimeters for the first part. Number 2 is my triangle. So that's area is 1/2 the base times the height. So 1/2, and I know that my base is 30. Shoot, that messed up. Okay, base is 30, and my height was 12. So 1/2 of 30 times 12. Again, to make the math easier, I'm going to take half of the 30, make that a 12, make it a 6. So I'm going to do 6 times 30 in my head. That's 180. I know I have 2 of those because I have 2 bases that are the same. Gives me 360 square centimeters for my second part. My third is that triangle that is on the bottom. So that's going to be the length times the width, which gives me 15 times 30. Or 450 square centimeters. The last part in surface areas, I now need to put all of those together. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to add the 450, the 360, I don't know where that random mark came from, and the 510. Gives me 0, 11, 12, 10, 13. So my surface area equals 1,320. Again, don't forget your units. Anytime we are doing area, it will be squared. So that gives me square centimeters for this one. Okay, we have a rectangular prism. Determine the number of 1/4 inch cubes that compact the prism. Calculate the volume of the prism. So because they've told me what size cubes to use, I now need to convert the measurements into cubes. So if it's 1/4 inch cubes, how many fourths are there going to be in 3 inches? 12 of them. How many fourths in 1 3/4 is going to be 7. How many fourths in 2 1/2 is going to be 8, 9, 10. Now that I have how many cubes it's going to take to go in each direction, I go back to my volume formula of length, width, height. But now I'm using the number of cubes. So that's going to be 12 cubes times 7 cubes times 10 cubes. So I'm going to do the 12 times 7 gives me 84 times 10 means it's going to be 840 cubes. So it's going to be 840 of those 1/4 inch cubes. Now to find the volume, I need to know the volume of one of those. Because it's a cube, it's 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4. Or 1 over 1664. So the volume of one cube is 1/64 cubic inches. I have 840 of them, so I'm going to multiply this by 840. So you have to stick with me. I'm just going to divide by 2s because it makes it easier. So if I divide by 2, it gives me 32 and 420. Divide those by 2 gives me 16 and 210. Divide those by 2 gives me 8 and 105. Yes. So at that point, I can't divide anymore. So just for the record, I think last class I actually messed that up. So 105 divided by 8 gives me 1. 25 is going to give me 3. 24 gives me 1, so 13 1/8. So my volume is actually 13 1/8 cubic inches. So that is how we find the volume. So if they tell me to pack it with those cubes, I find out how many cubes, find the volume of 1 cube, and multiply those two numbers. Everybody good on that? Okay. So going to the back page. Not bad, I'm halfway there. Write 4 decimals that are between 2500ths and 2600ths. This should be the easiest question on the test, guys. All I need to do is have the 0.25 and then add another number. So 0.256, 0.258. Doesn't matter which 4 you use. Order the decimals from least to greatest. Very important you pay attention to which way they want you to go. Least means I'm starting at the smallest, which would be the 207. So 207 and 6500ths. I have 208, so the 0 comes next. 208.07. 208 and 4/10. I have 218s. The 1/10 will come before the 2/10. 218 and 12/10. 218 and 20/10, or 2/10. Okay? Determine each sum or difference. In other words, I'm just going to add them. So 1 900ths, 6 965. I just line up all my decimals. 14 797. So 7 974 thousandths. 1408 minus 6 4/10. Put in my trailing 0, gives me an 8. Comes a 13. 10 minus 4 is 6. 7 6800ths. 12, determine the product of each. Don't know why that all moved. Okay, so this one I'm just doing 301 times 58, and I know I have 3 decimal places. Gives me 8 0 24 0 5 0 15. Add those up. 8 5 4 7 1. Put 3 decimals. So that one should have given me 17 458 thousandths. 1 2/10 times 1 2/10 gives me 2 decimal places. I know from my basic facts that's 144. 2 decimals, 1 44 hundredths. Okay, 13. Write a different division expression that has the same quotient. Not done, right? This one's one that's on the test. Okay, so 13 is actually not going to be on your test because there's too many options. The easy way to do this, I just move them both once, so it would have been 71 6/10 divided by 13. This one I can just move once, doesn't really matter because my divisor doesn't have anything. So technically I wouldn't actually change that one if I were doing division. Okay? But you don't worry about 13, it's not on the test. Calculate each quotient using long division. So 138 divided by 24, that one is going to go, we'll go into 1 or 13, 24 is going to go 5 times. Gives me 20, 120, gives me 18. Add a decimal, bring down a 0. 180 is going to go 5, 6. 6 would be 12, 7 times. Gives me 28, 14, 16. Gives me 12, 120. That was going to be my 5 again. So 5 75 hundredths. 56 8/10 divided by 1 6/10. I have to move my decimal once in each. So my decimal is now up here in my answer. 16 won't go into 5, goes into 56 3 times. Subtract 48. Gives me 88. Goes into 88 5 times. Subtract gives me 80. I'm still not at 0, and this is what a lot of people missed on the homework. It means I need to add a 0. I bring it down and I get a 5 again. So once I get to 0, then I am done. So pay attention to your directions. So this one came out to 5 75 hundredths. This one came out to 35 5/10. 15 also won't be on your test, so I'm going to come back to that if we have time. 16, 125. 6th graders, take a bus to the Science Museum. Each bus has 32. How many buses will they need to transport? How many seats will be empty? So there actually are two questions in here. How many do they need? How many seats are empty? So I take 125, divide it by 32. Won't go into 1 or 12. It's going to go into 125 3 times. It's going to give me 6, 96. 12, 11 gives me a 9, 29. So they need 4 buses because 3 won't be enough. And there will be 29 empty seats. Make sure you answer both parts of the question. This one's asking you to think about what the numbers mean. Okay, 17. Kendra chose to record some of her favorite Broadway shows. The table shows the musical. She has chosen how much space they each take up in megabytes. Calculate the total amount of memory the musicals will take up and how much out of 700 megabytes will Kendra have left after she records musicals. First estimate, then calculate. We have a lot of people that are having a lot of issue with following those kinds of directions. Okay?
Take out the estimation part of the test as well.
Oh, you did? Okay, so there's not an estimate part on there. So calculate the total amount it's going to take up. That means I'm just literally adding up my numbers. So 109 and 785, 131 and 642, 79 and 4, I'll put in 2 trailing zeros, 192 and 227, so put in 1 trailing zero, and 117, 005. So now I'm adding up my columns, 5, 10, 12, 15, 20, 9, 19, 21, 10, 18, 20, 21, 23, 40. See, 10, 24, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So she's using almost all of it. The total amount of memory is 640 and 102 megabytes used. So how much is going to be left? I'm going to take 700, subtract 640 and 102, meaning I got to go from the 7 and start borrowing all the way across. So it's all become 9s till I get to the last one. The good news is that means I'm not going to have to borrow again because I've got a 9 in every column. Gives me a 5. So she will have 59 and 898 thousandths megabytes left. Okay, so it looks like I have time knocking this one out really quickly. I'm determining the volume. That's going to be length, width, and height. So this one really isn't that bad because they made it a super easy shape. So I've got 2 pieces to it. Piece number 1 is going to be length, width, height. Gives me 5 centimeters, 5 centimeters, and then my height is my width is 5.4 centimeters. So I'm going to do 25 times 5 and 4/10, 2 decimal place, 1 decimal place, not 2. Gives me 28, 10, 0, 25, 10, 12, 0, 5, 3, 1 with 1 decimal place. So this part here is 135 cubic centimeters. My second one's considerably bigger, length, width, height, but now I've got a length, width, height. So 2603 times 5 and 4/10 times 5 and 4/10. So start with the lower numbers, 5 and 4/10. 2 decimals gives me 16, 21, 0, 20, 27, 6, 1, 9, 2. 2 decimals. So now I have 29 and 1600ths times 26 and 300ths gives me 4 decimal places. 18 gives me a 4, gives me a 27, 6, 7, 8, 0. I don't have to do the 0 at all, so I'm going to put 2 zeros because I'm going to the 6. Gives me 36, 6, 9, 54. You'll have to watch the rest on the video, but this one's not on the test. Good luck, guys. You know what to study. 12 and 5 gives me 17. 3 zeros because I'm in the last. Gives me 12, 2, 3, 18, 5. Adding up my columns. 8, 4, 13. That's an 8. So that's 10. That's a 6. That's a terrible 6. 10, 18. 18 and 4 is 18 and 6 is 24. 2, 7, 9, 15, 7, and I need 4 decimal places. So it gives me 759. Something's wrong. No, it's not. Okay, so 759 and 4348 for this piece. Adding the 135 from the first part. Nice, because that means my decimals stay the same. Gives me 14, 8, 9. And don't forget your units, cubic centimeters. But again, that was not on the test. Good luck, guys.
Mr. Moore,
Okay, one quick correction, and when we go back to 16, I misinterpreted this one. There's actually going to be 3 empty seats, not 29. My remainder was how many more seats I still needed to fill. So hopefully you guys all catch that one. Good luck.